All right, so getting into my second topic, which this topic is another Idaho 4 topic. So we're just going to continue right along here. We have got to dive back into the peeping video thumb that you will see here that talked about some of the background behavioral identifier of past serial killers and looking into the potential of Bryan Kohberger having some of those. Now, why I brought this up again is we probably had 50 comments on that video talking about this one situation, right? So I thought, look, we're going to be a reflection of the community and talk about topics that the community finds interesting. All right. So we're going to dig into this and we're going to think it out. We're going to think it through. We're going to thought write it out. So I also want to bring up a comment that someone else left because they believe that there's some identifiers there. And I don't think it's interesting reading comments that have so much like random information in it to where it could very easily be proved not possible, you know, within this. And I think these topics are really interesting when you're looking at it. All right, so the one I'm talking about is the Bryan Kohberger had a female neighbor. She thought somebody broke in and moved some things around, okay? She reached out to him, he installed cameras, and it was to spy on her.
Yeah, because I brought that up in the video.
Yeah, we barely touched on it though.
Yeah.
So a ton of people talking about this and saying this is that evidence. This is evolving behavior. This is escalating behavior.
Yeah, but he didn't attack her.
Wait, what's interesting is I found when I'm researching into this that they had a police chief and investigator come on to talk about this. Mainstream media did. So as I'm looking back at some of these topics, it's now making sense why so many people believe these things, right? So my first order of things here was to start searching the web all over, the gray web, every search engine I could, and reading everything. There is zero evidence, without me putting my technological expertise on it, there is zero evidence of this being real. Essentially what I'm seeing when I'm looking through all of it, and I probably clicked on 200, 300 different links talking directly about this. Every link is just talking about this topic without a single piece of evidence. And just like an example of that, okay, if we're going to look at this thing objectively, Daily Mail, Idaho quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger broke into apartment of female colleague, then installed security cameras to spy on her when she asked for help months before brutal killings. And here's what's interesting. There is not one single piece of objective evidence in this entire thing. With that salacious title.
They don't say where the rumor comes from?
No, nothing. So I continued looking because my first question is, dude, it had to be the girl then that made this assumption, right? And just wait, I'll go into the technical side of things at the end. I couldn't find a single link talking about her stating that. Not one of them say she came forward and said this. Not one. Therefore, leading me to wonder who came forward and said this. And I came to a conclusion here that another reason why I chose this one is, okay, this, from everything that I've researched, this is the best that I can come up with, okay? is this situation happened. It just didn't happen in the way it's being suggested. So he has a female colleague. She believes her house got broken into. Nothing's missing. Things are moved, okay? Which I would feel super weird about that. That's something that Manson did, right? They called it the creepy crawl, I think, and they would go into houses and quietly
crawling.
Yep, quietly move things around and then leave without taking anything.
Yep.
So people wake up like, what? You know? So she believes she was broken into. She called the police and reported it. All right. So there is an official report of a break-in potentially in this area, according to all of these stories. That is the most objective fact I could find, is that a break-in happened and it was reported. The next thing is it says in multiple of these that she did say Bryan helped her install cameras. And they do say she said this, that Bryan helped her install cameras. But what's interesting is not a single one of them, and please call me on it, you guys. If I'm wrong, show me somewhere I'm wrong. Like, where's some evidence with this? Nowhere, not one place does it say she said Bryan was spying on him.
On her. Yeah.
On her. Yeah. The only thing I can find is that Latah County was looking into Bryan as a break-in suspect. So where all that filler came from, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Well, I think there is a leak who's violating the gag order. So it makes me wonder,
is it violating if it's a lie?
No, I don't think so.
It's
unless it is proven to be like a prosecutor, somebody directly involved in the case who's going around spreading lies like that, then yeah, I believe it would be some kind of violation of the gag order and they could be in big trouble.
To be clear, that's not new, you guys. This goes on all the time. Trial by media is very real, and they are tactics that are used by attorneys all the time.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. So,
yeah. So, I mean, apparently before there was ever even the public hearing going on Friday, News Nation was already reporting that the judge denied the motion before it ever happened in the public sphere.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually saw that. Yep.
So there is some kind of leak because that's supposed to be sealed to the public.
Yeah.
There's no media in there. There's no family in there. There's nobody except for...
You know what's interesting? You know that we got a comment personally 24 full hours before that saying he denied the motion.
No way.
Yep, I just chose to ignore it, but I probably shouldn't have said it. I'll probably delete it, but yeah. Yep.
So I do believe there's some kind of leak.
Yeah.
And we don't know. It
wasn't a user account. It was like an unnamed account.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So, and I've wondered this whole time. Remember, I was like, is somebody going around to people's channels and is leaking information, is commenting things, even if they're lies? They could be real, they could be lies. Sometimes we won't have any idea.
Yeah.
And trying to guide the focus in certain directions. I alleged that a long time ago, or not a long time ago. It was probably like a month or two ago. But I've been feeling that way for a while, and I think it's a possibility.
Well, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Well, that goes back to what I'm saying. Trial by media is a very real thing, you guys. And there are a lot of people out there, people in general, that will use every tool at their disposal.
Yes.
Especially if they're not going to get caught. Okay. Now, many people have responded to that comment that I'm making right now. I am not trying to suggest the prosecution is doing some absurd, illegal, horrible thing. Is it illegal? Yes. Can it ever be proven? Absolutely not. So I'm not trying to play a gotcha comment on the prosecution. We know attorneys do this. We know they do. It is more commonly seen in civil cases, especially really high priority civil cases. It's not so common in death penalty capital cases, but if an attorney does it, then any attorney could do it. And that's just the way I look at it. And I'm not trying to point blame. I'm not trying to say 100% this is what they're doing, but it's a very real possibility, and it's coming from somewhere, right? Could it also not be the prosecution? Could it also be the police officers who maybe made a mistake along this investigation and now have some kind of buy-in in Bryan being found guilty? Absolutely. As long as they aren't the ones calling in and making the tip, does it violate the gag? Nope, it doesn't, as long as they're not sharing information vital to the investigation. So there are also ways to have trial by media without breaking that gag order too. So, but going back to the situation, we talked about these behaviors, right? And we want to be objective. And now, being objective does not mean we have every single piece of factual background information ever possible. I'm sure every single person watching this video right now has done something in your life that could be seen as a red flag.
Yep.
Everybody.
Yep.
Okay. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we look back and we're like, why? Like, what was going on? You know what I mean?
I'm sure somebody could paint me to be a serial killer pretty easy based on my past mistakes.
Yeah.
That's why I don't feel like any of Bryan's red flags are that much of a red flag. Like the addiction, stealing his sister's phone, possibly having a bad situation with a girl and tickling. Like they're not enough. That's why I'm looking for these particular markers that we've seen historically repeat in killers.
Yeah,
and I'm not seeing them.
Or the power control situation.
Yes.
The tickling, that is not a control of power type situation. The addiction, that's a loss of control. Normally what comes with it are behaviors of where you're trying to establish fake control to feel like your life's in control, because it's not. All we saw is one bout of theft that his dad held him accountable, which applause to him, he went
to rehab and got sober.
I know. So again, this video, I've said it on the 2 conversations, we've already talked about this, but we're not here trying to prove Bryan Kohberger is innocent. We're not here trying to prove Bryan Kohberger is guilty. That would be like handing somebody 10% of a puzzle pieces and saying, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't have enough, but we're looking into the investigation. We're not trying to identify his guilt or innocence. We are trying to identify the investigation.
Well, that's like giving somebody an answer key with no test.
Right.
There's
Absolutely.
no point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just jumping to he's innocent or guilty. Guys, we haven't even taken the test. Like, we haven't even gone through the trial. We haven't even seen all of the investigation and the evidence. There's no way to make a determination right now. You can think one way or the other, that you lean one way or the other. And I understand that. And everyone's opinions are valid, but are not necessarily true. And we can't know what's true until we have all of the evidence. And even then, we may not actually know what's true.
My number one statement, what I can commit here, is that there is a problem in the investigation.
Agreed.
100%. And the reason for that is because I have a pretty extensive expertise in wireless. And what they're saying isn't possible. If it was worded a different way, if it was explained a different way, it is possible to get a geolocation, but not in the way they're claiming. So what is on the PCA is simply impossible. It doesn't matter what somebody believes they're an expert of out there, it is not possible to triangulate in that location. So yeah, going back to this though. Now, somebody left a comment here, okay? And this is where we're going to dig into like the technology parts. And I do want to highlight this comment just because I think it's important for people to understand how, like we say this all the time, listen to us, don't believe us. Take the information as a carrot and verify the information. Who knows what we could be wrong in? You know, we're looking at things scientifically, objectively, where science is wrong 99% of the time and right 1%, if that, you know. But this person says that Bryan Kohberger has a proven history of breaking into houses and stalking, where 2 women actually got protection orders out on him. All right. I looked everywhere. That is public record. That is public record. And that would not all of a sudden be sealed because he got arrested here. That's not how those things work. Protective orders are public orders set in place and can be verified. So there
just like him being pulled over, that wasn't sealed. Correct. Like the body cam they won't release, but we still have public record of him being pulled over all those times.
Correct. And so there is no protective order unless for some reason it's I don't know, I can't even think of a reason. And this is my evidence of that is he was applying to be part of a police department. Yeah. Do you really think that he would apply to be part of the police with 2 open protective orders and evidence of stalking? Really? Police departments do thorough background checks. They also do lie detector tests at most of them.
Well, and it said he was passing like an FBI level background check.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just not possible, okay? So I just wanted to clear that up because I didn't take that comment down, but it's interesting where if somebody's leaving that comment here, then they're leaving it in other places, and that is very easily objectively proven untrue, right? Very easily. So, and anyone can do it. So going into the cameras, it says that she had someone break in to her house, or she believes that. That's an important thing. She believes it. Nothing's missing. Things are moved around. Okay. Clearly she called the police and made a report because there is a report out there, because it does say here confidently that they were looking into him potentially being the person that could have been breaking into these places. But no additional charges have come. Nothing additional has come. And they said that she reached out to him for help to get to the security camera. So for anybody that doesn't know how a security camera works, is it usually has its own application with it.
Yep.
All right. In order to have access to that application, you need an invite. There is there's an owner account, and there's usually only one of those. And then that owner account will send requests and or invites to other devices or emails or whatever to have access to that. Now, could someone theoretically put up security cameras and put a parent account and then give their phone access to it? They can, but most of them alert you when people are using that. Most of them alert you when stuff has been looked at or it has been taken off as not a new video file anymore or whatever, right?
Like once you've watched it, it says this person's watched it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it also, you'll see, like you can see everyone in their email address or whatever, their phone type that has access to your security cameras.
And here's another thing. This is what it says in most of these, that this is likely how Bryan was stalking her, because he probably got access to her Wi-Fi password. Okay. Even if he had access to her Wi-Fi password, That doesn't give him access to the application for the security cameras, which is a separate application altogether. You couldn't just get in that from the Wi-Fi password. That's not possible. You still have to be added.
You can't hack Wi-Fi cameras using Wi-Fi?
No. Nope. These cameras are corporatized, and they are not just accessible to be used on any open network. That's not how they work. Ring cameras are Ring. Arlo are Arlo. That other MHCI is MHCI. Like they're connected to these applications specifically. It's not something that you could do very easily. I'm sure you could do it, but not very easily. You would probably have to take the cameras apart, open up the network capability to be able to be picked up by a phone, which then it wouldn't be usable by her.
Oh.
So here's another thing is I started thinking about this, and I'm thinking, wait, how does that make sense? So she thought she was broken into, asked Bryan to help and install security cameras, and he came in and was like, yo, we need to install one in your bathroom, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, in your living room, and like you'll be set. You install cameras outside. How does that spy on someone? You really like to look when she's walking like in the front door?
I mean, it would let you know when she's coming and going if you're planning on arriving there at a certain time.
Not really.
It would tell you her routines of when she leaves, when she comes home, when she's home, if you want to go attack her. But he didn't attack her. He attacked people in another town?
If he's the one, yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, if you got your sights set on this one girl, why didn't you harm this one girl instead of going to another town and hurting 5 or 4 people?
Yeah, and also this story, like, it's always written in a way that suggests, like, Bryan's this evil techie genius dude, and she was, like, helpless to that, when more than likely, she probably didn't know how to, like, install the camera. Nothing in here suggests
like screwing it in the wall.
Yeah, nothing in here suggests that she didn't understand technology.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like how to download an app and sign up like a normal account, and
how to download, pay for it, how to look at where your logins are and located where, you know what I mean? This whole thing just drives me nuts. But this was said a lot. Like, a lot of people commented on our videos, and this was the number one thing they're talking about. So I wanted to be able to look into literally everything I could find, and this is what I came up with.
Could it be true? Sure, I guess. But the problem is there is zero evidence. There's only evidence of a break-in and her saying Bryan helped her install security cameras?
Yeah.
Supposedly,
everything says that he installed security cameras to spy on her. That's what it says. In everything.
Yeah, but there's no objective evidence. There's no proof at all.
There is no evidence. None. There is zero.
That's nothing. What I was
all it
saying.
says is there were some break-ins in this area.
Wait, multiple break-ins?
Yeah. And but there's always multiple break-ins, especially in a college town. And then it says that Lata was looking at Bryan Kohberger to see if he was the suspect for these break-ins. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's all of the evidence. That is everything. It doesn't name her, meaning she never made a statement about him being the one. Yeah. Right? Isn't that strange?
Well, yeah, I already knew there was no proof to those claims. But yeah, that's interesting. I wonder where it came from.
I mean, probably the ex-FBI profiler, Greg Cooper, who claims that the incident was 100% Bryan Kohberger's step in the progression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, you guys, if I'm missing something here, please feel free to reach out and let me know, leave a comment, help me understand it further. Because from my understanding here, it's not possible to get security cameras, put them up, and then have like unfettered access without the owner of those security cameras knowing it. I know there's all this stuff in movies where like it shows people tapping right into security, but those are normally closed network security cameras where they can be accessed through hard lines. Like they have actual wires connected to them running to a box, like a data router, and then pulled up. Like it's a hard line source. You know what I mean? When cameras you buy at the store are not that. They aren't that anymore. So
yeah, interesting.
But let me know what you guys think.